With the excitement of finding out about High Lee members' powers and Hinrig and Nobunaga managing to plant a bug in their hideout, what could possibly happen next? Well, we do get to see some of that plotline, with the troupe deciding on their next actions, but instead we switch gears to focus back on Melody and her situation with the twin princes. We also get a brief glimpse at what Kurapika is up to now. With all that said, let's dive right into the details. In this chapter, aptly called Concealed, we pick up with Finks and Feitan looking at the tracking device that Hinrig left them. Previously, Hinrig was able to drop the device in the High Elite base, and it hasn't been located yet, as far as we know. So far, the duo of spiders see that they're within 200 meters from the planted device, but can't tell if it's above or below where they are. From the distance alone, Feitan can tell it has to be either on Tier 2 or Tier 4. So they choose to go to the lower level first, which tends to require less permissions. Finks also points out that once they start going down, it'll be clear if they're going the right way or not. Interestingly, Feitan says it would be so much easier to locate if Finks would use his N. Finks is kind enough to give us a little recap on what exactly N does and why that's a bad idea in this kind of situation. For one, it would cause him a sensory overload since he would be feeling everyone and everything around him. He also tells Feitan that he's not good at picking out subtle cues from his N, and that if he's even a little bit distracted, he'll be pulled out of that state right away. And because it takes so much focus and as little distraction as possible, he wouldn't be able to move and check for the device at the same time. Not to mention, he'd be searching for a small item and looking to 2 different floors, requiring a ton of precision and focus. Finks tells his ally that the most he can manage is looking through a small storehouse, because doing that in a place like this would put him in danger. In case you forgot, using N can also alert others who are able to use Nen themselves. As he puts it, it would be like walking into a slum wearing nothing but a sign that says "shoot me." Just at that moment, Nobunaga is back, accusing them of loitering about. Feitan throws it right back at him, while Finks wonders why Nobunaga is back so fast. The samurai offers to explain later, more interested in the position of the device left by Hinrig. Feitan tells him their plans to either go up or down, but Finks is still annoyed at Nobunaga's comment and points out that he's only been gone for 10 minutes. From there, we get a look into their plan. They'll be going down to Tier 4 first, mainly to eliminate it as an option, but also because they can use the Cha-R hidden passage to get back up and check out Tier 2 afterwards. Once they reach the passage for Tier 4, the guards explain that they've been told to let the spiders pass by the families involved. Nobunaga makes sure to tell the guard that he notify Hinrig where they are if he drops in. You know, his new buddy Hinrig, gotta keep him up to date. Meanwhile, Nobunaga feels a nagging in the back of his mind, like he's missing something important. He can't even focus on their search because he feels like there's a part of the picture not there. Finks just wonders why Nobunaga can't recall where he might have been earlier. Our samurai friend explains that he couldn't tell at all because the head of the High Elite was using a Nen space. Feitan, who has been holding on to the tracker, gets their attention to show them that they moved further away rather than closer. In other words, they're on the wrong tier. That's when Nobunaga realizes why he felt something was off. If Morena is on Tier 2 herself, then why would they need to start a war with the lower tier passengers to overtake the higher levels? He even says there's no just cause for their war, with that being the case. Finks chimes in and admits it's odd for Morena to be up somewhere else, while the members are out killing for her. He thinks that the High Lee family are likely abusing an old pact or something similar. Feitan suggests they go to Cha-R to report what they've found. Before we continue with this wild goose chase, be sure to subscribe with notifications on and smash that like button to get more Hunter x Hunter goodness. Nobunaga tells them they should get Franklin first before saying Cha-R, because they don't know how many they are nor how strong some of them might be. He admits they may have underestimated their power, which says a lot. He's a spider after all. He has experience around dangerous people and situations. Maybe the fact that they're on a ship with no way to escape like usual is cause for more caution. Inside, he's considering the ancient pact that the families may have struck together. Nobunaga continues on, saying even if the lower level members are just punks, it's better to be safe that none of the higher ranking Nen users have troublesome abilities. Finks just seems annoyed that Nobunaga is thinking too much about the High Elite, rather than their goal of finding and killing Hisoka. Nobunaga tries to defend his position by saying that it's best to get Franklin's help in case Hisoka shows up while they're facing the sideshow that is the High Elite family. Finks' irritation is clear though. Nobunaga just wants to face the High Elite members. Feitan confirms as much when he says that the samurai is a sucker for a good enemy. Meanwhile, an emergency announcement is blaring through the ship's speakers, calling for everyone to listen carefully. But we don't get to hear what said announcement is. Could it be about one of the dead princes, or perhaps a new one we haven't heard about yet? Guess we'll have to wait and see. Switching gears completely, we return to the princes and the succession contest. It's been a number of chapters since we last got an update, so it's nice to see how things are going now. We start in front of room 1006, decorated with cute details. Prince Tyson begins to introduce her guards to us from there. First is Matovich, the amnesiac hitman who was hired by Tyson because he can still use his gun despite the memory issues. Next is Himanse, who looks an awful lot like Pariston Hill. Where is that sneaky guy in Jing? Anyway, Himanse is a superstar apparently, and he's surprised that Prince Tyson didn't know who he was since she was the only person to ever say that. Next is Enzel, who claims to be Tyson's younger brother and that it's a secret they're keeping between them. Following this is the renowned tutor Hyuga, with text designs behind him as he shows off how good he is at teaching even the dumbest students. Lastly is a self-proclaimed alien prince from planet Mooney. We don't get a name, but the alien says their goal is to find a wife. The guard being told all this information is stunned into silence, and then breaks the illusion by pointing out that Prince Tyson is making their guards roleplay these characters. Tyson gets a bit annoyed at that, saying it's sacrilegious to say something like that. In fact, she doesn't see it as role-playing at all, but them having been reborn thanks to her influence. She says the same thing will happen to Juliana, one of her other guards. In case you need a reminder, the guards that work for Prince Tyson tend to have a creature called eyewogs on their person, if they have positive favor from her, and we can see that Risu now has one with the new role. The role in question? A bodyguard who looks cold but is sweet deep down. Hyuga feels put off by that since it seems similar to his own role. Izunavi worries what may have changed with the guards like Giuliano because it happened after reading Tyson's Bible that was gifted to them. In fact, they became calmer. Without needing proof, Izunavi is certain Prince Tyson's Nen Beast is directly related to the books that are given, something like provoking devotion towards Tyson. With that in mind, he wonders if they could use this ability to control the king and end the violence of the succession contest that way. Izunavi asks Prince Tyson whether other princes have received the same book, and she reveals that even their mothers have as well. But it doesn't seem like they've read them yet. For some reason, Tyson believes none of the books were thrown away. Could this mean a direct connection to the items so she can sense what has changed with them? Without wasting a moment, Izunavi asks if she's given one to the king. As it happens, she needs permission from her mother to do so, but she also has faith that her mother has given the king a copy already. Apparently, the condition Prince Tyson gave for joining in the succession war was to give out the books to everyone. She couldn't imagine putting her own children into a situation like this, which upset her mother. It turns out her mother hates the idea of having a child like Tyson, unwilling to fight in this deadly battle and doesn't want to be pitied by the other mothers. In fact, Tyson believes her mother wants to win. Taking it in stride, the young prince admits her only weapons are love and devotion, which could be the name of her Nen abilities for all we know. After hearing that, Izunavi suggests the prince have her mother make the king read Tyson's book at their next banquet. He makes sure she knows how important that is, but she only thinks he's doing it because of how much he believes in her. He just wants to end the fighting. We move on to room 1010, with Fugetsu's mother worrying about her daughter and annoyed that she can't see her. As it stands, there's an investigation going on ever since the twin sisters tried to escape the ship together. Their mother plays the part of being upset for her daughters while acting as if she doesn't know Kacho died. Worse than that, she isn't upset that her daughter died, but the fact that she was meant to be a shield for her younger twin Fugetsu. This contest really brings out the family cruelty, huh? The queen points out that she wants Fugetsu to be in charge because she follows her every word, whereas Kacho could look right through you. Finally, she admits that since Fugetsu isn't as strong-willed, it's best she stay in the custody of the Ministry of Justice for now. Interestingly, despite having died, Kacho is completely aware that she did. Her Nen Beast had the ability to create a copy or a clone of her due to her death. The terms are that if either sister were to die, a copy would be made to continue to support the other. Kacho worries that her having come back as a ghost may be draining her sister, so she would need to drop out to protect her. Or maybe just tell her the truth, that she died and this isn't the real her anymore. Our dear, gentle Melody is shown shaking and guilty for her involvement in that plan. It's not only the fact that one of the twins died and is now a spirit thingy, but that Kimi killed himself to avoid any hint of the plan being leaked. At least it's nice to see that Kacho, despite dying, has returned with her usual blunt and rough personality. She puts Melody quickly in her place, telling her to wallow on your own time. Kacho says she has no regrets, she chose to take those actions, so Melody shouldn't feel guilty. And besides, her goal has always been to support her younger sister Fugetsu, which is easier now that people believe she's dead. With her out of the way, people might try to go after Fugetsu, but Kacho will use her reappearance to throw everyone off and likely create an ideal scenario for her twin to win. However, she also wants to keep her death hidden for now from Fugetsu. Caesar, the Department of Justice worker plotting with them, agrees to follow that plan and leaves it up to Kacho to convince her sister that everyone else is wrong about her death. In the next shot, Caesar looks vaguely like Illumi, or maybe it's just the eyebrows. Anyways, he admits it's hard for him to believe in ghost or Nen abilities, but he has no choice considering the circumstance and also Melody's report. Interestingly, Melody notices Caesar's heart is calm despite the hectic and surprising turn of events. He calmly admits they can't just stay here and do nothing. He and Kacho gang up on Melody, forcing her to join into the plan to make Fugetsu take the throne, but she certainly doesn't look happy about it. Apparently, Melody has been in great demand ever since that performance on the night Kacho was killed. Caesar reveals that 5 princes, count them, 5, have requested to see her. While the 3rd and 4th prince only want her to perform privately for them, the other 3, 1, 5, and 7, are willing to absolve Melody of any crimes if she puts on another show. Kacho is confused by this. Why would Melody need to be protected from anything? Melody makes sure that Caesar tells Kacho nothing about what happened with Keenie's death to cover up the plan. The princes offering amnesty are the ones who know enough about Nen to realize that Melody helped distract everyone with her music to allow the twins to flee. In other words, if Melody refuses to see those 3 specifically, she'll be immediately tried for her actions and likely killed. The way Kacho sees it, it's the prince's way of asking for her help to distract their enemies so they can get one step closer to winning. She doesn't see a problem with this, seeing as she wants Fugetsu to win as well. Melody, on the other hand, finds that opinion really cold. Caesar points out that there are too many high-ranking princes to risk doing a plan like that. Any one of them could turn on the other, and fingers would be directly pointed at Melody herself again. Saddened by this turn of events, she points out that her ability is meant to soothe people, and that the effect it had was just an extra. The way to block it is just to plug your ears like we saw in chapter 383. At the same time, Caesar admits that kind of information is good to have for bargaining against princes. They might even pay quite a bit to know that. And then he mentions the grand performance. And we all know that it's not going to be as nice as it sounds, don't we? Might it be some kind of red wedding type deal? Melody holds her head, already worrying as she points out that he means the upcoming massacre. Caesar suggests that with Fugetsu in mind, they plan to meet with all the princes who requested Melody and trick them all so they can take down the biggest threats. His plan is to administer a poison to them orally while they're unconscious. He even volunteers to do all the preparations himself. Logically, Melody wonders why he would risk himself like that, knowing he'd be blamed too if they were to fail. Out of nowhere, Caesar admits it's because he likes Melody. Kacho can't help but cover her mouth in shock with her eyes wide, but Melody is just frozen with the revelation. Caesar explains that he's been struggling with sleep because he's been thinking of Melody and her amazing performance. He says he was bewildered and his chest was throbbing, but something is up. Melody can hear his heart clear as day, and none of that excitement is present. He's as calm as he was before when he found out that Kacho was now a ghost. He even tries to argue that he's a romantic, but it's hard to believe when his heart says the opposite. A few options come to mind right away. One, he could be a spy or someone hired by one of the princes to take them down. The other thing is that if he's a manipulator, he could be pretending not to have any abilities and not know about Nen. With that in mind, Melody also considers that this plan to assassinate princes might be through another prince who didn't request to listen to Melody's music. Something that Melody didn't consider, though, is that someone may have used their ability to modify his heart or mind to make him harder to read by someone like Melody. He might not even be aware of it. Kurapika himself has said as much in the beginning of the voyage. Maybe the reason Caesar looks somewhat like Illumi is because that evil Zoldyck is the one manipulating him. It's not like it would be difficult for him. Okay, I'll stop now. Getting back to Kacho, who stopped holding her face in shock, she decides that to make sure Fugetsu is aligned with him, they have to convince her the 4th prince needs to be taken down. And only afterwards will she mention her death. Caesar tells Kacho to go to her sister by passing through the walls, while he will use the door since he's not a ghost. She asks whether he wants to interrogate her some more, but he points out she'll just use her right to remain silent. We move now to the VIP detainment facility, where no one can abuse their power, not even the first prince. Caesar calls over Steiner, an IPA worker and Beyond Netero's guide, but considering the way he responds, Caesar definitely has the higher position. Knowing the only threat to their plan is if the first prince were to come, he orders Steiner to declare the Ministry of Justice as the central command center immediately in case they enter a state of martial law. It's to avoid the royal army taking over and forcing themselves into their department. He adds that in 10 minutes, they'd be labeled dissidents and given the death penalty. Though Steiner doesn't understand the situation well, he worries that something this serious could happen because of the succession. Caesar admits he doesn't know how bad it could get himself, but that's what the precautions are for. And he's also willing to protect Steiner as a witness if ever the events come to pass. Steiner worries that he's been handed a death flag, which, that's pretty on the nose. It would be too obvious, right? Kacho finally reaches Fugetsu's room, finding it empty. Immediately, she starts to panic, since she knows there shouldn't be anywhere she could leave, besides using her power. And if she did that, she wouldn't have a way to come back. Or, well, that's how it used to be. Kacho eventually finds the door to Fugetsu's ability on her bed, underneath the blankets. Seeing the door brings a flurry of thoughts. Why would she need to go through there? Was she in trouble? Is Caesar actually someone to worry about? Well, it's not looking good for Caesar. Two of the people in on his plan now don't trust him that much. Just then, Fugetsu exits the door, and Kacho's relief is palpable. With large, dark-rimmed eyes, Fugetsu admits that her ability has improved so much that she can use it more than once per day now. And to top it off, she can create an exit door herself without needing Kacho there to help. Kacho doesn't miss the strange look or the coloring of her twin sister's face. She looks very wired. With an energetic smile and talking quickly, she says she's great and that the more magic she uses, the better she feels. So she's likely been using it all the time, perhaps the whole while Kacho was meeting up with Melody. Fugetsu has been productive though. She's been scouting the ship, trying to find more ways to escape safely. When Kacho tries to calm her and ask about her health, Fugetsu's eyes just become more wild and frightening. She grabs onto her sister and says, "I've always known that you've been protecting and looking over me." If that isn't chilling enough, there's tears in her eyes as she vows to do whatever it takes now. It seems to me like Fugetsu is aware deep down that Kacho died, but she can't face it, and this is the result. Kacho convinces her twin to lay down and sleep together, and that they can keep searching afterwards. Later, Kacho meets up with Melody and tells her about how her sister looked, and how much she's changed. But because of the investigation, Melody can't go near the twins, so she'll have to wait for a moment when they cross paths to see what's happened to Fugetsu. She has Caesar arrange the times for her to meet with the princess, and Fugetsu to be collected to match so she can see for herself. In the hallway, Fugetsu has a scary smile on her face, while Melody can't help but hear a dark buzzing coming from her. A sinister aura also surrounds the back of Fugetsu, but when we get the full shot, whoa! There's a number of dark spirits, curses perhaps, around her and clinging onto Fugetsu's body, draining her. Melody points out that it's like she's using Zetsu, since her aura is almost down to nothing from what they're doing to her. The spirits seem to be drawn to the way her heart currently sounds too, which could result in more clinging onto her with time. Could this be related to Mashush being assigned to her? In a way, those spirits remind me a lot of the dark hands that were grabbing at the twins when they tried to escape. Could it be an effect of that as well? Or is it just the grief of Fugetsu knowing deep down that her sister died to save her? Beyond worried now, Melody knows she needs to find an exorcist quickly to rid the poor girl of the spirits. Even with all her experience, Melody can't quite figure out what's causing these negative changes for Fugetsu. And she worries that whoever did that to her planned it so that they could have something over Melody herself. The first prince she meets with is Zhongli, who comes to her personally. Needless to say, she's shocked that he hasn't sent a representative. He says it's because of how amazing her recital was last night. It's really only been that much time? Wow. The third prince has two requests for Melody. The first is to have another performance from her, which is obvious, but the second is that she hold on to something for him. The guard asks if she wants the item, which she gladly accepts. It turns out to be one of his coins that we've seen him hand out previously. There's clearly an ability attached to said coin, but even he doesn't quite know what it is, because he assumes it will only take effect when he wins the succession war. Next, Melody meets with Bantane, a captain representing the fourth prince. He points out that there's no reason to conduct negotiations here, but that he'd like to extend an invitation for her to go to the prince's room instead. She appreciates the offer, but Melody can't make those decisions because she works for another prince currently. Bantane even knows exactly which. He changes the subject instead to the topic of her music, which she's happy to respond to. So long as she has enough time to prepare, she's willing to perform again, of course. We can guess she also means time to discuss with Kacho and Caesar, right? Though he started with talking about negotiations, when Melody brings the topic back up, he seems completely confused about what she means. In other words, he isn't among the people using Fugetsu as a hostage. When she's done meeting with the other princes, she goes to report to Caesar about no one seeming guilty or involved. Since they don't know who's behind Fugetsu's state, they can't really take action yet. Melody frantically asks for Caesar to instead work out her bail so she can find out what's wrong with the prince and help her somehow. But Caesar reveals that it's not possible. If he were to do that, they could no longer refuse a prince's summons, and then the first prince would have authority to do as he pleased. With that in mind, Melody tells him to speak to Kurapika for her in room 1014. Caesar is shocked that she wants to tell someone everything, but clearly he doesn't know Kurapika like Melody does. Or we do. Melody reflects on meeting with the princes and how they're all suspects since they didn't reveal anything to her from their heartbeats. And at long last, we see Kurapika meeting with Prince Tubeppa's guard. Longhee, the one discussing an agreement with Kurapika, admits they can already use Nen and shows it off for him. Kurapika agrees to a contract with 5th Prince Tubeppa. Interestingly, a while back, this same prince had displayed an interest in Kurapika and was willing to accept any terms to have him join her forces. I guess it was just a matter of time before Tubeppa got what she wanted. Getting to the contract though, Tubeppa's ability is apparently a transmutation type that involves a collaborative aspect. So her wanting to join with a partner like Kurapika would both make her stronger and allow us to finally see what she can do with her Nen Beast. One other thing, it apparently can synthesize drugs and chemicals, which would come in handy if Caesar and Melody carry out their plan to administer poisons. On a side note, this panel of Kurapika was revealed to us by Togashi himself a while ago, but who would have thought it would be the final panel of the chapter where he goes on hiatus? Not only that, but it made it seem like Kurapika would have more of a role in this chapter. What a troll! Considering the series will be taking a break and starting a new release schedule in the future, what do you hope we see when we come back? Let us know in the comments below. As always, this is Jack Stansbury, thanks so much for watching and have a great day!